buffer. Cool, I think we're live. Please write in the chat if you can see us or hear us. We've just come out of VidCon Europe, the very first edition, which has just happened. And I've got two very special guests with me today. I have Shini Somara, Dr. Shini Somara, the host and presenter of Crash Course Physics.
Hi.
And many TV shows. And Brian McManus.
You've got it.
Brian McManus from Real Engineering. And they're both joining us here today to talk a little bit about what they do, checking comments. Cool, perfect. I'm so glad you can hear us well. Yeah, so we've got two amazing guests here today, and I thought it'd be very interesting for us to have a chat about, you know, their academic background and how they got into science communication, because they both got very interesting stories, and I'm kind of hoping to learn a bit from them. So we'll be chatting for a little bit at first. We've got a few wonderful moderators in the live chat. We won't be paying excessive attention to the chat at first, so we can just chat normally, and we will take some questions at the end. So feel free to leave comments there. I will be keeping a small eye on them. And if you're not able to make it, or you're not able to make the whole thing, I will be keeping the live stream, even if it's on unlisted, but in a playlist. So you'll be able to watch it afterwards. And if you're someone who's coming to the live stream after it's streamed, then do feel free to say hi and let us know what you thought about it, because this is the very first time Draw Curiosity does a live stream, and I'm quite interested in seeing if this is something you would like to see more of or not. So without further ado, I have here Shini Somara and Brian, and I kind of want to know, what is your academic background? You're both engineers. Do you want to start, Brian?
Sure. So I started off by studying biomedical engineering, mostly because I was completely obsessed with Iron Man. And I figured if I want to make an Iron Man suit, biomedical engineering is the thing to do. And then out of that, and I still love biology, haven't done any videos on it yet though, but graduated out of that into the Irish economic crisis and couldn't get a job. Spent 6 months working on a factory line and fell in love with Destin's videos, Smarter Every Day, and decided I wanted to do aeronautical engineering too. So then I went and did the shortest possible master's I could find. I found a 1-year master's, got a scholarship to do that, and then flew off to Malaysia to work in the oil and gas industry after that. So fairly varied background in engineering.
Wow.
How about you?
So I did mechanical engineering as a bachelor's. Did that for 3 years at Brunel University, and then went straight on to do my doctorate in computational fluid dynamics. I stayed at Brunel, and I actually did it partly in industry as well. So I was funded or sponsored by a CFD software house. And so I was based in industry, but I was doing my academic research. So it was kind of the best of both worlds. I got to be feel like a member of staff at this software company, purely my own research. That's very nice. And then, so I was at university for a total of 7.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, long stretch to be studying. And then after that, I came out of university and I just needed to give my brain a break. So I took some time off, and I was doing like a bunch of kind of talks in schools about science, trying to enthuse youngsters to take up STEM subjects. And that led me into a career in television. And I was working behind the camera for a few years, learning the ropes, because honestly, my life had only been about science and engineering. And I learned about what a producer does and a researcher and how to edit and things like that. And then about 6 years later, I ended up in front of the camera, and that was just so much fun. And then I ended up doing that full time. And it took me to America. I lived in Los Angeles for 3 years, and I've only just moved back to London. And yeah, just been doing programs all about science and tech and innovation for channels like the BBC, Discovery, Sky, and Al Jazeera, which is where I was in America. and PBS.
Oh, wow.
And actually, PBS was my first online experience because I was the host of Crash Course Physics in 2016. That series is now completely, in its entirety, online. So anyone that's struggling with physics, please go and visit that. And actually, as a result of doing Crash Course Physics, it introduced me to the world of online creators, such as you guys. Really interesting, because here at VidCon, you meet people that are making so much online stuff, and I feel like I shouldn't really be here because
That's so true.
No.
You have probably more experience with video than both of us
This
combined.
is, I think this has been a common theme with a lot of people I've met here. Is like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here, or I feel out of place. And it's like every person I meet is like, it doesn't matter how many subscribers you have, it doesn't matter whether you're a fan. It's like, just talk to people. This is a community event. It's like we're all here to learn from each other. We all have different experiences. Like, it's cool. It's the best thing about VidCon so far. It's like I've meet so many amazing people who are like I'm learning a lot from.
And people are so individual, so there should not be any kind of feeling that we shouldn't be here, because if we're trying to be like everyone else, it kind of VidCon wouldn't exist.
Exactly. So in a way, I guess YouTube, with its whole, broadcast yourself, be unique, be yourself, it's almost like that's the selling point of YouTube, that you have your own style of presenting or your own way of doing things, which is quite interesting because you come from a TV background, and I remember you mentioning that they have very specific ways of doing things, and I think it would be very interesting to go into that afterwards. But I also want to ask Brian, what made you go from, working as an engineer in corporate to then decide to make YouTube videos?
Oh, well, that's a whole long story, and there's a lot of things involved in why I decided I didn't want to be in the corporate life anymore. But for the most part, it was, I like learning new things every single day. Corporate things, you tend to get pigeonholed into a single thing, and like, this is what you do, and you kind of, I felt I wasn't growing anymore. It's like I wanted to challenge myself, so I just saved for 2 years and then quit my job and went off and did a YouTube thing instead, and somehow made it my full-time job in that space. But there's a lot of factors into that. I couldn't get a job in, like, I was obsessed with design. I wanted to work in aeronautical, like Boeing or something. That's very difficult unless you're American. It's like, for anything in aerospace, like, you need to be American or British, which I'm neither, because it's like kind of defense kind of type thing. There's a lot of secrecy involved, and I just couldn't get an R&D job in biomedical engineering either. So I kind of got roped into the oil and gas stuff and just didn't like it, and then ended up on this track instead. Which I love it now, though.
How long have you been doing this? Wow. No, because something that really came up at VidCon is that there have been people that have been making content for years now, and they've really got to a stage where they can begin to start thinking about monetizing. And this new term that's come up, I'm sure it's kind of old, this term's been around, but it's really kind of stuck with me, is this idea of influencers.
Yeah.
And influencers are only becoming prominent because they've spent years building up, their channel and working so hard and not really getting anything in return financially.
Right.
But it doesn't sound like you have had that experience.
No, I think this is partially the engineer in me. It's like, before I started, like, I was practicing making videos before I ever released a video on YouTube. Like, the first video I made, which was like why are plane windows round, which is like stress concentration. I made about 5 different versions of that, sent it to my family. I was like, this is kind of not good. Do it again. And then I sent the final version to Destin from Smarter Every Day, and he just wrote back, put it up. And I put it up. But I was approaching it as a business. I wasn't approaching it as like, this is just something I'm doing for fun. This is like, I'm quitting my job. I need to make this as a viable business as possible, make it something that no one else is doing, and make it as professional as possible. And I think that helped me, but I also, huge amount of luck, a stupid amount of luck. My first video went viral, which is just like, I couldn't have anticipated it.
Do you know what made it viral? I seem to remember it got embedded in lots of external websites. Which...
Reddit kind of gave it the first push. So like I think I got onto the front page of our videos, and then Huffington Post took it, and like that's where it went crazy, because Huffington Post is like what, the third biggest website in terms of that, and like journalism in America, I think. And it just like within like 2 days, I remember waking up one morning, it's like, oh. It's like I still have the screenshot of when it had like 15 views. I was like so happy with myself. The next day it had like 100,000 views. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But
apparently some people are saying in the chat that we're cutting out a little bit. So we are using
hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we are using Shini's hotel Wi-Fi. It seems to be working quite well.
It's all my fault. Sorry.
No, it's not really. But yeah, we apologise if it stutters a little bit. I am keeping a slight eye on the comments. So if there is something you really miss and you want us to repeat it, we can do that. A few people in the comments are asking why this isn't in Spanish. This is on Draw Curiosity. So I will probably, I might add a little summary in Spanish. Un pequeño resumen en español. But I probably won't be able to caption the video because it probably will be very long.
Okay. Currently it's better now.
Okay, that's good. And some people are also wondering what this was. So as a recap, in case you've just joined us, we're just talking about Shini and Brian from Crash Course Physics and Real Engineering, two very big engineering and physics channels. We're talking a little bit about their career and how they went from an academic background to having a job in science communication, because they've both got very interesting trajectories, which I thought some people might be quite interested in. Okay, that has been the little announcement.
You're so good at this.
I'm glad you think so. I'm completely winging it.
No, you've got it down. Very professional. I'm impressed.
Yeah, so the background is that we met at VidCon and we just decided to all get together and chat to you guys.
Yeah, it was actually your idea. So at VidCon, they had these creator chats where you could sign up with some of the featured creators to have a talk about their background. I picked Shini's brain to death, and at the end he said we should talk about this online. And actually, I think it's a really good idea because each person has their own very unique trajectory, and it's very interesting to see what you can make of it. And I guess from my own perspective, I'm someone who's finishing their PhD, someone who would really like to be able to do science communication full time, whether it be on YouTube or some other capacity. I quite like the YouTube format, I'm not going to lie. So I feel there's a lot I can learn and a lot that maybe you guys can learn if you're interested in either engineering, what you can do with a degree in engineering, or if you want to do something like this where you're disseminating science. So another thing I really am quite interested in. So we've all gone into this out of a desire of wanting to express or communicate engineering or how the world works. So what made you decide that was what you wanted to do after finishing?
I just felt, I think it was very similar to Brian actually. Like when I was doing my doctorate, I felt like I was looking at a tiny little segment of engineering and the world just seemed like a much more rich and discoverable place. Like, I didn't want to just narrow my vision to computational fluid dynamics. I wanted to see what other kinds of technologies were out there, innovation. I wanted to, I was surrounded by people who were really passionate about what we were looking at within CFD. And their passion about the subject really intrigued me. And I kind of wanted to meet other people that had passion for other things and understand why they were passionate about them. And that's really been what my job's been all about, which is, whenever I'm doing a TV report, diverse range of subjects, like when I was mapping glaciers with NASA over Greenland, all of the scientists on board the aircraft that we were flying, zigzagging across this ice sheet, they were like kids in a candy store.
Yeah, no, I feel like I'm just smiling thinking about it.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Like they were just like, they were like welcome to our office, which was like an old World War II bomber plane that had been stripped of all its old technology, and brand new technology had been put in to like measure the topography of the ice sheet over Greenland. And they just had massive smiles on their faces, and the flights were like 8 hours per day, where they were just zigzagging over this ice sheet, and they were so happy to be there. And when I find that kind of enthusiasm for science really infectious, I had it for CFD, but I wanted to like tap into the enthusiasm of a whole range of subjects and just learn more, because I think you can never stop learning.
Right. Yeah.
What about you?
Why did I get it into?
What made you want to communicate engineering?
For me, a lot of it was frustration with how engineering was being portrayed in the media, and like just say Big Bang Theory, the engineer is the one that's always being made fun of, and it's like this nerdy little guy who isn't very good at communicating anything.
That has a plaster holding his glasses together.
And I was like, this is not how I want to communicate it. Or on Facebook, there was like all of these Facebook engineering pages, like interesting engineering, wonderful engineering, hardly any engineering on it. And that's where the name like real engineering came out of. It was a kind of a diss to all this, but I started like the Facebook page for that 5 years ago. Like, it was, this idea has been in my brain for so long, and it was like, I know this is something I want to do, I just don't know how it's going to be done. And then YouTube is kind of like, this makes sense, this is how it came about. And my whole mission is just like, the very first video I have on my channel is just me, kind of a mission statement for why I believe engineering is important. It's like, this is what improves the world. And it's a kind of a common theme in my videos, where I try to do an overarching, like, where this is bringing us, why engineering is important, why this is important, and why you should care about it. Like, I usually open my videos as like, this is why you should care. And I feel that's one of the reasons my videos get a lot of views, is because I'm not just going straight into the science and like alienating people. It's like, I'm making it relevant to people. And that was my goal with it, is like, try to make engineering relevant to you, even if you don't study it. And yeah, that was my overall overarching goal for the channel, I guess.
Yeah, I'll chip in as well and say, for Draw Curiosity, it's very much, I wanted to communicate science stories that I thought were fascinating, but in paper form they probably wouldn't really interest many people, when actually they answer very interesting questions about our world. Even if you don't understand science or do a completely different area of science, it's still interesting how it adds to better the world, innovate in technology. So you went into TV and you've had some very, very fun experiences. I don't know if you want to tell us a little bit more about that. And you mentioned there was quite a difference in how people presented in America versus presenting in Britain.
So many differences. So, I mean, there are differences between television in America and England, or the UK, as you said, but there are differences between television and online. And what's really, what's becoming very apparent is how much television believes they can go digital. And how difficult that transition is, actually, because even though we use the same toys, like, we're still using cameras and microphones and drones and all of that.
And have more experience and knowledge doing it too.
The way television is put together is so different compared to online. It's so much easier online because the online audience doesn't expect the kind of quality that we can only deliver in television. I mean, television budgets are so much bigger. The standards of television that we create is I mean, it's just become, it's set the bar, really. And we don't need that kind of quality for online. It's really about content. I mean, it's always been about content for television, but even the formats, you know, for TV, it's a lot longer. Like, you're trying to put together a 30-minute documentary or an hour's documentary, whereas online, you know, you can create something really impactful for 3 minutes. And so it's been interesting watching television networks tried to have some sort of digital impact. And yeah, I think we're still in the middle of that transition. But my experience of the difference between the US and the UK, particularly the BBC, they love a very natural style, so I can completely be myself. And I kind of prefer it. The presenting style is different. So, you know, you can struggle to find words, you know, you can kind of look away from camera and you'd be like, what's the word I'm trying to find, that engineering word? And that's all, you know,
it's more human.
Yeah. Whereas in America, pieces to camera, as we call them, were very kind of glossy. Like you'd practice your script and you'd deliver it in a very polished way. And so it was a lot more glossy. But at the same time, in America, they tend to love kind of very glamorous looking presenters. Whereas in the UK, they just want to be real.
Yeah.
No makeup, no, you know, done hair and stuff like that.
So in that regard, it's almost more like YouTube. Sort of YouTube kind of prides itself on being authentic and being, you know, as you said, more individual.
Relatable, I think, is the main thing. Is like people on YouTube, like when you watch them, you feel like you know them. You don't feel like you're just watching some random TV show. You know, you can like write a comment and they may see it. Like I see all of my comments. I may not reply to all of them, but I see all of them. And I think that's what a lot of TV struggles to realize, is that this isn't just putting content onto a site. It's about having a connection with your audience. And that's the thing they're kind of struggling to figure out, unless they just don't want to do that. I'm not sure.
That was another major big difference, was that you'd shoot a TV series over months, and then it would be months before it's actually aired. So you've lost, even the people on the show have lost a connection with the series. Once it's aired, you're like, oh my god, that was so last season.
You're
like filming something else. And so when people make comments, you're like, oh, you're still talking about, you know. When I think about the series I did in Scotland, I was in Orkney, and you know, when it actually came out, I mean, we shot it in the summer. We were watching it when it was wintertime. Kind of, you lose track.
Yeah, I could imagine. It's like videos I did like 4 months ago seem like I did them such a long time ago. It's like weird that like I'm still getting comments on it and be like, oh, it's like I forget what this video is about sometimes.
Do you feel that you're always learning stuff all the time? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
Like you're making content all the time, aren't you?
Yeah. So daytime, PhD, evenings and weekends and times I should probably be socializing more like now. I'm making videos. So with regards to am I learning all the time? To be honest, it reminds me a lot of my undergraduate. So undergraduate in Oxford, you're set an essay. Every week you've got a pile of reading to do, papers, books, you've got to read through them, and you've got to make a synthesis of what you read. You've got to answer a question, discuss something. And I actually really miss doing that when doing my PhD. Obviously, you're basically doing one ginormous essay and research. You're doing lots of reading, lots of investigating papers, but it's not all around the field. It's just one specific subject, which in my case is insect flight. So
so cool.
So awesome.
I do love insects.
Biomimicry at its best.
So yeah, so I feel like Draw Curiosity is almost like the return of those undergraduate essays, but instead of having to write them super perfectly, I get to write a conversational script, I get to present it, and I get to actually see that people have seen it, they've actually taken in that information, and it's been interesting to them. So I feel I am constantly learning. Sometimes I do talk about things that I knew already, but it's things that, you know, made me really interested. I wanted to find out more. And then when I did, I thought, well, this is a great story. I want to tell people about it.
It's like, I think that the feeling of what I'm doing now, like I haven't been this happy since I graduated. Like I absolutely love what I'm doing. But I remember when I was working in like a proper corporate job, it's like, I miss college. It was always a feeling that I had. It's like, I really missed that feeling of college. And I wasn't sure what it was. And then when I started doing this, I realized it was that excitement for learning something new. It's like I get a new assignment and it's like design design a pump for like pumping blood through a fake through a stent to like analyze the blood flow through it or something like that. It's like, okay, like off I go. I'm gonna learn this, figure it out. And the adrenaline rush and the like dopamine rush when I figured it out, I missed that so much. And with the corporate stuff, it was like you get into a routine, you're not really challenged that much. I know not every engineering job is like that. The really cool engineering jobs, you're challenged every day, but mine wasn't. It was very much I'm a kind of product manager, team leader type scenario where I'm mostly managing people, and I wasn't good at it.
It's so amazing that we're living in an era where we can try to do what we love. How lucky are we actually? Because when I think of my parents' generation, like their main objective in life was to just earn money, to get a roof over your head and all of that. And now it just seems like our main objective is to find a job that we love doing. Which
is a funny thing with our generation, that a lot of people feel entitled to have a job that they really love having as well. And it's like, that was part of, they love this. Why am I not happy in this job? It's like, I'm incredibly lucky that I managed to create something, but that, I don't know, freedom, I don't know. I feel like I'm patting myself on the back now.
It's kind of interesting because like, when I was living in LA, it's a very entertainment focused city. A lot of people are actors, or in that kind of industry where, you know, a lot of people get auditioned and one. I feel like YouTube is kind of becoming that kind of space. I mean, certainly being at VidCon, there's now and so fans could meet us because we're seen to be, you know, providers of science content on YouTube, and so many of them like want to do this parallel thing of studying science and making YouTube stuff, and they've all got great ideas, and it's mind-boggling that every time there's a VidCon, and it's not just California now, it's Europe as we're here, and Australia at the end of the year. Like every time, so many people are inspired to do what we do. So it's going to become harder to make an impact.
Or collectively, we have more of an impact. That's what I would like to think.
Yeah, I think there's always space for more people. Like what I found about this is like there were so many people there today who were legitimately like famous, and I had no idea who they were. And it's like there's always space. Like there's always space for other people. Like the number of subscribers, everyone is like, how many subscribers do you have? It doesn't matter. If you're enjoying what you're doing, that's all that matters.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the subscriber question is really in terms of, you know, from the panels that I've been on, it seems like a lot of people have spent a lot of time creating content, so investing a huge amount of their time but not actually getting anything back, and that can be scary because how do you survive?
I think the main, this is kind of going on a whole other like tangent of how to make it as a creator, but I think your main focus should be creating something that you enjoy creating, and that helps a lot towards it. I think most people, the infectious like passionate thing, when I meet someone who's that passionate about it, I'm automatically, I want to see your videos. I met so many people there today who were like, oh well, I only have 100 subscribers, but I could feel their passion. It's like, send me your videos, I want to watch them.
And everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah,
everyone starts at zero, and that is how you build it up. I have one last question, and I think after that we can maybe do Q&A, because we've been going at it for an hour, and
I'm straining to see these.
Wow, has it been an hour?
No, it's been half an hour.
Okay.
We started at 9:30.
I have to go close.
But yeah, so my last question is, where do you see yourself going in the future? Because you're considering starting a YouTube channel, because you've been on other YouTube channels, but I think you have one, but you don't really post there. So what's your plan for the future?
I'd like to start making my own content, because you know, I do see now that it's becoming increasingly difficult to get science on television, because television is changing, and so rather than jump through the hoops that you have to jump through to get anything commissioned on television, I think I'm just going to start making my own stuff. And want to go into areas that are not necessarily my academic training. And I think it's exciting because you can do that. You can combine what you're really, like all your interests.
Yeah.
And then put it out there and see if anyone else is interested too.
That's like my decision-making process on making a new video. What am I most excited about right now? Let's do a video about that. If I'm excited about it, someone else is going to be excited about it. Seems to be a good way of deciding videos. What am I passionate about?
Yeah.
It's great.
So where do you see yourself in a year or so time? Do you have any sort of goals beyond YouTube, writing books, or?
I have so many goals. It's hard to pick like individual ones. Like, I don't know how long my YouTube career is going to last. I'm always just trying to focus on that now. Is like, what is the next video I'm working on and making it the best possible. So like, I guess it's just going to keep growing. I don't know if it's going to keep growing at the rate I'm currently growing, but I would like to. I was talking with Simon Clark from, I forget how to pronounce his actual channel name. It's like, it would be that creating a actual hub in maybe London for educational channels, because I think there is. It's like when you finish your PhD, we're going to have an office and we're just all going to work in the same office, and you're going to plug it and we're going to do fun stuff and make it a whole thing and just create, like, enable other people to create better content. We can all help each other. And that's something I would love to do.
I think it's time to take a few questions. I can see a lot more viewers have joined when we start. Again, do the quick, 15 recap. So basically, we've met at VidCon. We've actually met beforehand, but this is the first time we've met each other in person. And we're talking a little bit about our careers and where they're going, and especially the jump from academia to explain, making science accessible to those without very specific background to a certain field. I've seen a few things popping up in the moment, so we'll kick off with some of those, and if you have anything you would like to ask, then this is your case. To those saying it's such poor quality, I'm really sorry about that. We are using Wi-Fi from a hotel, and I'm not at home. Our internet we have at home, so we're just using the best tool we have. But I'm hoping that you can hear through the microphone. So if the sound cuts out, then do let us know, and we can repeat those bits. Anyway, so if anyone has any questions, now is the time. And earlier I saw some questions above asking to those who, you had a job before, you were concerned, were you not worried about not being able to make money? Did you have any worries about going to YouTube and it not working out?
Of course. But I've always had a policy in life that if I'm afraid of something, I'm going to run at it full speed. I don't like being afraid of like anything, and downgrading my lifestyle was one of the most terrifying things in my life. It's like, I had a nice company car, I had a decent salary, I was doing okay with life. It's like, I don't want to be afraid of losing that. So that was half of the reason I did it. I fully expected to have to go back and find another job, but like, that's the worst case scenario. Go find another job. It's not going to be that hard. There's always going to be another job there. It might not be as good, but in life, you have to take risks to make. But like, maybe not quit your job to start a YouTube channel. Maybe.
So you weren't too worried when you made that jump then?
I wasn't worried, but it was like, I knew it was a possibility, but I was okay with that. It's like, I'm afraid of it, and I want to confront that fear. Fear isn't acceptable in my life. Okay,
and did you feel that potentially having that uncertainty made you work even harder to make sure this worked?
That's why I did it. It was like, I'm not going to make this. I have this. Oh shit, are we on? Hold on. Hello. I heard you were looking for me. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
What are you guys in the basement doing?
We've just been doing a.
Oh no.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't know how much.
Chill.
Me too.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was going to
There's a possibility.
This is going to be allowed. Are we live?
Apparently so. Okay, so
Look who we found.
stuff has apparently happened. I don't know if this is working. We went upstairs. We found
We
a
lost our
wild
connection. Now we
and
found it again.
Yeah, we're back. And
yeah.
With a bonus person.
Very sleepy.
The thing is, we were in the middle of just answering a Q&A, and then it cut out. Then I don't really know where we are.
We would know if the comments were going.
Well, there's 40 viewers, 48 viewers. Look at that.
Okay. Well, apparently the chat is not working. So maybe we should just answer the last question, which I saw, which was, Shini, do you feel more confident in starting a YouTube channel because you've got all your CVs presenting?
Well, let's just say I'm in the company of a lot of people that can help me.
Yeah.
So yes, I know how to be on camera, but I think when it comes to doing internet stuff, I've got a lot to learn.
I feel like maybe we should just take this over there.
Yeah, I feel like we've accosted you with the live stream.
I have food up in my room. And I'm very excited about it because I've had peanut M&Ms today.
That's been your meal for
There's been
today.
like 3 different meals. I don't think it's the right thing to do. But
Well, enjoy your dinner.
It was
Good
nice
to
to
see
meet
you.
you.
It was great meeting you,
Yeah.
finally.
Cool. Well, let's try and rescue.
To go right to the back. We're coming back to our chat. We just try to find a space that has better Wi-Fi connection.
Let's just pop it on the table, I guess.
It's quite dark here.
Yeah, there's lights.
We just prioritize you guys over Hank. Green.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Okay. Well, that was.
Oh, this is really dark.
It's really
Sorry.
dark.
Maybe it'd be better if we face that way.
I'm just wondering what's up there.
Is it better this way? It is better this way.
I feel we have to we have to recover this. I'm really sorry about this. I genuinely
I think this is hilarious.
was
This is like
not
proper live
expecting this.
stream. It's like
Yeah.
Hank Green suddenly appears. It's like, oh my god.
Well, the thing is, so on my side, I can't see the chat, so I don't know if it's live or not. Apparently, we've got viewers. A wild
Can we
Hank
check it?
appeared. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
there we
it's
go.
working now. Oh my god. Yeah, there was a Hank. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we're back. We're very sorry about that. Hopefully, that was still interesting. Great. Okay, we're not going to move anymore, and I think we should.
I'm like happy seeing
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any way of altering the settings. Right. Well, this
I
is.
feel like I'm very red after that.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I kind of feel like we should probably
Wrap it up.
wrap.
I think that was a good note to end on.
It's also quite a lot noisier here, and I imagine this is probably a bit annoying for you guys. However, I know this ended in a very shambolic way. Nonetheless, I'd be interested in hearing what you thought of this live stream, and if under a more controlled environment, you'd be interested in having more like this. And by more controlled environment, I mean probably with Ethernet and the connection that's not going to just, go on holiday in the middle of it. So, yeah, I think we're going to end there. Again, we hope you enjoyed it. I still hope this is going live. And yeah, bye.
Bye guys, thanks for watching.
And yeah, thanks for spending this crazy time with us.